The Treasury Department has a big decision to make in the coming weeks, whether to honor Citigroup's pay deal with one of its star oil traders. We're talking about Andrew Hall, who's made a fortune for Citi's Fibro unit in the commodities market. His contract calls for him to get as much as $100 million this year. But Citi is being kept afloat these days thanks to tens of billions of dollars in federal bailout money, which gives Washington a say in what the bank can pay its top employees. The New York Times reported this weekend that Hall is pushing for what he calls a quiet divorce from Citi, and that he has had talks with one possible suitor. Meantime, the House on Friday approved a bill giving regulators new powers to restrict how Wall Street pays its top workers. The White House has given the bill a cool reception, and the Senate is in no hurry to take it up. Let's get some perspective now on the executive pay debate from Brian Foley, president of Foley and Company. Brian is an attorney and compensation consultant, and he's on the phone with us right now. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning.
Let's go ahead and start with Andrew Hall, the head of Fibro, who stands to make a bonus of $100 million. What do you think should be done with him at this point?
Well, you know, the biggest problem is that we don't have all the specifics in terms of just how well Fibro has performed and just how much he is getting paid, and in what form he's getting paid. This is a tough situation for the government, tough situation for the pay czar. If Hall is as strong a performer as he's reputed to be, pushing him out is not going to be good for Citi and ultimately not good for the government. On the other hand, paying him $100 million presents difficult optics.
Oh, sure. I mean, he could be made the example. I mean, vilified. I mean, at least in the media, right?
He certainly could be, and this suggestion and the reporting this weekend in the Times is that Hall's interest in a quick and quiet divorce may stem from a desire to avoid the kind of media coverage that we've seen in the past.
Okay, so the House approved a measure on Friday that would put limits on executive pay. The Senate is going to take up the issue after its August recess. First, your thoughts on the bill as it stands right now?
Well, there are some things in the bill that are to be expected. The House version has a say-on-pay provision, which is across the board. I don't think that say-on-pay for non-TARP companies is something we necessarily need to get into right now. But politically, an annual say-on-pay, I think, is going to happen. And I think the Senate, when they get to this, will probably go forward with some type of annual say-on-pay requirement. The House bill also purports to impose restrictions on executive pay in financial services firms by empowering the regulators to prohibit certain incentive pay programs that encourage inappropriate risk. It also requires greater disclosure of those programs and calls for a GAO, a General Accounting Office study of the relationship between compensation and risk. That in and of itself tells you a lot. They're asking for the study, and they're already trying to prohibit without even knowing what the outcome of the study is. I think the reality is that it does make sense to do the study. It does make sense to have enhanced disclosure, but I think it's going to be very tricky for the regulators to come forward with regulations that, on the one hand, prohibit inappropriate incentives without stifling incentives that make sense. And
Okay.
these are the same regulators that missed Madoff, missed Stanford, and missed a number of the events leading up to the crisis.
And Brian, that's a good point. We're going to have to cut you off there. Thanks for joining us, Brian Foley, president of Foley and Company.